Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday. I'm Charlotte McGinnis, and as always, thank you for taking the time, either live or at your convenience, to join me for my Sunday Soulful conversation. Well, we had our first snow that stuck. Not too big of an impact, maybe an inch or two, but it's really beautiful. It's been really cold, and I'm grateful that I have a warm home and a place to feel safe. Unlike a lot of people in this area that are really hurting, from the effects of Helene back in September, there's still people without homes, literally living in tents in very low temperatures, single digits, high winds, and it's very, very sad to know that there are people living in those conditions. So sending prayers of support to those people, praying that everything they need comes forth for them, praying to see how I could be of service, in what way would be best to serve. So it's an opportunity, I think, for us all to reflect and see how we can bring a little more light into people's lives in the world. So good morning, Dawn, and good morning, Laura. Happy Sunday to you guys. Anyway, moving forward, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on this week. We have a beautiful opportunity to get our book group started back up. We're on our fourth book. It's been an amazing journey. Really awesome group of ladies who have become very close through the process. I think we've healed. We've lightened up on our journey a little bit. And it's just been awesome. So I invite anyone, you don't have to be a lady, any guys are welcome, anyone who wants to join us is welcome. And it starts, the new book study starts Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I say that because we've got a good contingency from out in Nevada. But that being said, this book is going to be The Mystic Jesus from Marianne Williamson. It's her latest book. I've read it, and it's a really great book. I think it's going to be a fun, deep opportunity for us to really just go into a deeper understanding of who Jesus is and what he stands for and how we can bring him more into our hearts and into our minds. So everyone's welcome. Just let me know. I'll put you on the list, send you the link, and you just need to order the book or go buy it at your local bookstore. So let me know sooner than later, because it's going to take you a day or two to get that book. This Wednesday at 11. And always our Friday group, the Way of Mastery Course in Miracles. We're actually deep into the Way of Mastery. It's been really great. Another great group of souls come together every Friday at 11. Been doing this for years. It's awesome. So you're welcome to join us there too. And always welcome for everything. And also, I want to invite you all, I say every week, to submit your prayers. Good morning, Molly. Happy Sunday. To submit your prayers to the prayer request on my website, charlottemcginnis.com. There's a place to click on. You can submit a form, and immediately we have about 85 people on the prayer team. And I've just been getting this message over and over to really put more attention into the prayer ministry. Not that I haven't already, but I want to make it even a richer, deeper experience, because I get so much feedback about how people are so grateful and transformed by the experience. So I'm inviting everybody to, if you feel called to participate on the prayer team as a prayer warrior, I'd love to have you join us. Please send me a message. Let me know up here. I'll add you to the list. It's not a whole lot of work, but there's a whole lot of power that comes from this experience. I'm going to be putting together a meeting of the warriors in the next week or so. So we'll be able to get all the scoop on what it means to be a prayer warrior, how we can really bring this experience into an even greater expansion. And if you know anyone who'd like to join us, please let me know. If you'd like to join us, I would love to have you. And oh boy, I see, I say this every week, but one of the things that brings a great smile to my face is all my peeps from Huntington, West Virginia who joined me. It's crazy good. And, I say it's like a class reunion. And when I see everybody pop up here, I get a smile on my face. So, William, good morning. Happy Sunday to you. It's great to see you here. I hope you're doing well, and glad you're here. So last but not least, as I think we all were touched by the life of President Jimmy Carter. And, he was such a decent, loving, compassionate, kind man who literally was so humble. Good morning, Sue. He was humble. He didn't live a grandiose life. He just was a simple man who did great things. So his passing, I think, went beyond the beauty of his life and of his death, was that in his passing, it moved beyond the boundaries. Hey, Martha, good morning to you. It moved beyond the boundaries of party lines. I don't think anybody could really say anything negative about Jimmy Carter as a human being. Maybe some of his decisions people didn't agree with, but as a human being, I think across the board people agreed that he was one of God's big angels here on earth. And his memorial service I always enjoy, I shouldn't say enjoy, but I always love to watch these services because you really get to know and remember how great these people were and what they gave to our country when a president passes. And he was certainly no exception. So Jimmy Carter, as I said last week, Molly went down to the Carter Center twice last week to honor him. And he was just a terrific guy. So may the spirit of Jimmy live on in all of us because he did great things. And we can all do great things. He answered the call. As A Course in Miracles says, all are called, but few choose to listen. So are we going to answer the call to serve, to be kind, to be loving, to be compassionate, to be empathetic? And we're going to talk about empathy today, maybe from a different perspective that you've never considered before. So here we are. Last week, I don't even know what day the wildfires started. They all seem to just be, it seems to be everything that you see on the media. These horrific fires, whenever they started, I had one of the news stations on, and it was in the evening, and they put on a breaking news that these fires had started. And it seemed serious, but certainly I don't think anybody expected them to continue and to produce the horrific damage that they have and are continuing to do. And there's so many people affected, impacted by these fires. There's businesses, small businesses. There's people who live in trailers. There's people who live in housing. There's people who own homes that are not, don't have the insurance to cover it. Their entire life is gone from these fires. It's beyond the scope of how do you even begin here? Well, I would suggest that our thinking mind, our ego mind, our planning mind, the mind that gets us into our messes, isn't going to be the mind to fix anything. So this is an opportunity for not only the officials in charge, that means the fire department, the governments out in California and across the world, who have all really been pitching in. It's been amazing to see man, woman at their best coming in to be of service in whatever way from all over the world, which, unfortunately or fortunately, the beauty of these tragedies is sometimes we see the best in people. As I said, like with Jimmy Carter, it seemed to just transcend and blow apart our divisions. Same things with these fires. People are just coming to serve and help any way they can. But this is an opportunity for us all to really ask, see how we can be of the greater service, and also really turn it over to spirit, the divine mind, the mind which really knows things that we don't know. It's so expansive. I always say this quote from Einstein. He says, you don't want to get into the thinking mind, the program mind, but rather the mind of God. I want to know what God's thoughts are. Well, that's what, as we move into all of these huge events, as I mentioned earlier, the Helene impact that still lingers hugely here in Western North Carolina. These wildfires. There are earthquakes, floods, everything going on all around the world that are so monumental. And, there's people that I talk to that say it's biblical, this is Revelations, it's prophesied. Yes, could be. I would not debate that. But whatever it is, we have a choice every moment how we walk through these fires of life. And so do we walk through it with our head held high, with carrying the light and the confidence, knowing that we are divine beings, that we are a soul experiencing these events? Or do we go, good morning, happy Sunday, Seal, good to see you. How do we choose to walk through these experiences in life? How can we serve? How can we bless the world? And really I really have been talking for quite a while now about the purification of our process, of our own being. And that means to release and free ourselves of judgment, of fear, of the past hurts, whatever it is, and be fully present in love. Because when we're there, we are much more able to be of greater service to ourselves and each other. So speaking of another, something that I've heard firsthand from a friend of mine, she lost everything in Helene. Her home, it doesn't look like the insurance, FEMA is able to come through with really any substance to support it. Since it was a flood and she didn't have flood insurance, the insurance company doesn't handle it. I know she's not alone. There's many, many, many people here dealing with the same thing. But since I've been in touch with her, I can speak from what our conversations have been, no one else's. I would assume that they're similar, but I can't speak on their behalf. But regardless, the flip side, the good side, is, I don't know if you've heard about this, but it definitely gives you an opportunity for a big thumbs up. And in Medina, Ohio, I grew up 5 minutes from Ohio. I've never heard of Medina. There is it's a small town, and in that small town, there's a Castle Noel, Noel. Never heard of that either. But this town and this Castle Noel have actually come together, raised money, and offered the people who were impacted by Helene in a horrific way an opportunity to come up and just be taken care of, to be, in the joy of lights and Christmas and love and peace and music and good food and all expenses paid. And so, it was such a beautiful thing, because I know with this person, the struggle they have been through. There's children, there's grandchildren involved. There's lots of unanswered questions. There's loss of everything up to this point in their lives and starting over. And so this was such a great respite, an opportunity to sort of regenerate. So kudos to Medina, Ohio, and Castle Noel for your kindness and generosity. There are people doing great things out there. And let's be one of those. Instead of banging down and saying, focusing on everything that's wrong in the world, and ain't it awful, and, pointing fingers and, getting into the fear of what's going on. And yes, it's sad and it's dreadful, and not diminishing that at all. But what can we do to bring light to the situation? Where am I putting my energy? So The whole idea of compassion, this is a quote from Thomas Merton, is based on a keen awareness of the interdependence of all living beings, which are all part of one another and all involved in one another. So, we are all one. We're all here exchanging energy, exchanging love, giving and receiving. We're all interconnected. We're not separate from each other. We can try to cut each other off. We can try to, just say, well, I'm not going to look there. But really, when we understand that we're all mutually supporting each other and mutually needing each other, things shift in a great way. Khalil Gibran, a Persian poet who I love, he says, love is not without flaws. The stronger the love, the more it tests us. Compassion and empathy will make true love persist. So sometimes, you can be a really good person, and it doesn't mean that you won't go through difficult times. But it can strengthen us. We can use it as a means of, like, okay, I can get through this because I know that the Spirit of God is in me, dwells with me, walks with me on this journey. And if I tap into that, then I can overcome anything. That is the message of Yogananda, of Jesus, of all the masters, is, Buddhism. All suffering is attachment. And, if I'm attached to things, if I'm attached to conditions being a necessary way for me to be at peace or happy, then, you're probably not going to be that happy. And the Buddha just smiled all the time, and he laughed and he giggled. The Dalai Lama giggles. Jesus always was, I would say he was a fun-loving guy. So it really is, we have the power within us to overcome anything. Doesn't mean that we're not going to be challenged, but we do have the opportunity to choose peace in every moment. Einstein, a human being, is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, and feeling as something separate from the rest, kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is kind of a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion and embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. So, we sort of, there again, want to arrange it and just sort of stay in our little bubble, but for us to fully embrace life, to embrace our purpose here, it's about embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature, the whole of humanity in its beauty. So this is an opportunity for those of us who are not dealing with these situations for us to be of service. As I say, it's giving and receiving. Sometimes, when we're in need, there's those who can support us. When they're in need, we can support them. We give for those who can't give for themselves in the moment, knowing that they too will be transformed by that experience and will be empowered by it. How often do you hear stories of people who, I was listening to Tony Robbins last week on an interview, and he was sharing really what pivoted his life as a young boy. He grew up in an abusive household. His mother had been married, I think, 4 times. The husbands were pretty much abusive. He wasn't really cared for and loved as a child, and no money. And he said he remembered that there was Thanksgiving, they didn't have any food, and a stranger brought food to the door, and a delicious turkey dinner. And he remembered how that right there shifted his entire focus of his life. That gesture was what really got him thinking and made him the man who he is today. And he does remarkable work around the world. Not only does he transform people's lives who follow his teachings, he's very generous in in his philanthropy and all around the world and does remarkable things. So those little things can be big things, right? Don't take those for granted. A lot of people say, well, I don't have anything to do or give. Yes, you do. We all can do something. Prayer, make a phone call, whatever it is, we can all do a little more. I know that. Well, one of my favorite Course in Miracles teachers and authors, Gary Renard, is actually lives in Hollywood, California. He definitely was impacted. I don't believe he lost his home. He did have to evacuate, but as far as I know, according to this, he is back home. And he had a very good, I want to share with you what he says, how he perceives this, because he is really one of the greater teachers of A Course in Miracles and how we can integrate it into our being. So he goes on to say the evacuation order in Hollywood has been lifted, at least for now, so we're going back today. Other areas have not done as well, and nothing here will even have the illusion of being stable until we get rain. The scale of destruction is immense, and many thousands of lives are upended. We can't take anything for granted, but in a world of shift and change, we never could. There are countless places we know and love that are gone. Our empathy goes to everyone being unspeakably challenged, and our true empathy goes to everyone as they really are, perfect spirit. In times like this, it's hard to remember that there is no order of difficulty in miracles, and yet it's true. You may ask yourself, as I have, what kind of person am I becoming if I don't feel bad in the face of such tragedy? The answer is you are becoming a more peaceful person and awakening to who you really are. And because you can think more clearly, you can actually be more helpful and effective in the dream, not less, because you are more open to the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. And I love this true empathy. And I'm going to go on to say, according to A Course in Miracles, true empathy does not mean we join in suffering. The ego's interpretation of empathy is to share suffering, but the Holy Spirit's way is different. The Holy Spirit does not understand suffering and would have us teach that it is not understandable. True empathy is not about entering into pain, but rather healing it. So good morning, Randy. So good to see you. So true empathy, not about entering into pain. We don't join in the suffering. Yes, we observe it. We see people are struggling and suffering, and they are. And it's valid, and it's sad, and very painful for everybody in it. And sometimes tough to watch. But true, empathy, and I've shared this in the past, a lot of people will say, I'm so empathetic. I take on people's pain. And, that's sweet and wonderful. It's not the most enlightened perspective. As Gary says, he often says, what kind of person am I not to get torn up by witnessing this, right? But actually, the more peaceful we become, the more aware we become of truth and illusion versus reality, then we're able to see beyond the illusion of insanity, of suffering and pain. Yes, we see people are struggling. We don't just say, oh, it's an illusion, forget about it. No, by no means. This is actually a much more empowered way to be in the world right now. We see the suffering, we see the struggle, we're more peaceful, and we're able to react and respond from that place. I'm not joining the suffering and freaking out here, and because if I respond from that or react from that, I'm just feeding or perpetuating the illusion of suffering. So it's really time for us to, as I said, do our own purification, look at the world through the eyes of truth, put our God glasses on, our eyeglasses that are the God vision, and to be able to see past the illusion. And then I can respond in a way, as I said earlier, it's not going to be the mind that this is beyond what's happening in the world today between the floods and the wildfires and the earthquakes and collapse of civilization. It's not going to be fixed by our thinking mind and the mind that created it. It's got to be create a new model, as Buckminster Fuller. It's not about fixing the old model. It's about making a new one. And how about we make this new model showing up and say, okay, God, just flow through me, show me how to be of service. What is the answer here? And if I can stay in that, rise above the battleground, I'm watching, but I'm not taking it on. Because once we take it on, we're making it real and we're expanding it. The wildfires are actually an analogy of that. You know, they just expand with the wind and the lack of water. Well, same thing with us. We have to water our God seeds and to breathe gently into that so we can nurture and develop that which is healing, not that which is perpetuating more fires, more fear, more insanity. So we're only here to remember this, that we don't want anything we value to come of relationship. We choose neither to hurt nor heal in our own way. That means that I'm not going to do it my way, but God's way, love's way. I'm going to get my ego mind and my thought about how it's got to be, and this is the way it's got to be, damn it, and all of this, and then justify my case and point fingers and divide. You know, I think I heard Shirley MacLaine say it years and years ago, that really, and I talk about it every week as well, but it's the world is a mirror of our collective projections upon it. And Mother Earth is also responding. So Mother Earth is burning because, you know, it's literally burning and collapsing in some ways because it's everything's coming up. And it's, in one way, it's an awesome thing. It's a good thing because it's being purified. You know, sometimes the purification process is a little dirty and hard. And, but we can also, if we show up with the right mind, we can begin anew, rebuild. Good morning, Sharon. Happy Sunday to you. So it's up to us, moment by moment, which we choose to follow, which voice, the voice of power, transformation, peace, love, unity, true empathy, compassion, or do I choose to, hey, Stephen, or do I choose to sit here and try to fix it and, you know, give my opinions and blame and judge and defend and attack? It ain't working. I always go back to Dr. Phil. How's that working for you? Well, it's not working very good, right? So but the good news is we do know the answers. We have the answers. We just have to tune in. Let go of your past. Let go of how I think things should be. Because you know what? The truth is that we're creating this mess, okay? We can shift it in an instant. We have a choice of who's going to direct the show. And I can only do it for myself. I can't do it for any of you, but I can show up as much in the light as I can, and hopefully everyone else will as well. And sometimes I go into darkness and anger and frustration, just like everybody. But the good news is I recognize it, and I don't really want to stay there. It doesn't feel very good, and I know better. So here we are. We have a choice. We're at a really pivotal time in our world of how we choose to move forward. I'm excited. I have compassion. I'm very sorry for the loss. And I can't say that if I was in that, I would not be devastated. I don't know. I'm not there. But I do know that through the grace, I'm not in that. So I feel like I have a call to be of service in some way for everyone. So having compassion and empathy have compassion and empathy in your heart. Many people suffer deep emotional anguish beneath the surfaces of their lives and smile even though they hurt inside. So you know what? We're all interconnected. We're all, sometimes we got the genuine happy face, the faithful face, the faith, the confidence knowing that we are okay no matter what. And sometimes, you know, we put that smile on even though we're suffering. And then sometimes it's just we're screaming. But, you know, that goes to our exchange. Just know that every brother, every encounter is a holy encounter. For in that situation, in that engagement, we either find ourselves or lose ourselves. So, you know, Emerson, he said, "You cannot do kindness too soon, for you never know when it'll be too late." So, you know, delay is meaningless in eternity, but tragic in time. So do it now, you know. There's nothing that means we can't flip the switch. Be reborn, be restored, be renewed, let go of the past, be kinder, be more compassionate, be more loving, be more patient. You know, talk to the people at the grocery store checkout. I walk through the store and I consciously, well, it just comes natural now, but I used to consciously choose to just look everybody in the eye and smile. And people have recognized that and been grateful for that, because, you know, we're so busy and running, and we take, you know, we got to slow down and smell the roses. And Teddy Roosevelt, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So again, the intellect is wonderful, serves a purpose, but really it's what's in the heart that matters. And compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. We are recognizing that we're one. Compassion becomes real when I make decisions not to keep myself in my bubble. Yes, we've got needs. We can certainly, it's not about being careless, okay? We take care of ourselves. We sort of deal with our stuff, you know, and then we use our means and our light to be of greater service to each other in the world. So this is a quote from the Course in Miracles that I'd like to wind down with, and it is, "I leave you now with these words about Christ from the final section of the text." This is Gary Renard. "Be well, my friends," he says this. "He would remove all misery from you whom God created altar unto joy. He would not leave you comfortless, alone in dreams of hell, but would release your mind from everything that hides his face from you. His holiness is yours because he is the only power that is real in you. His strength is yours because he is the self that God created as his only son." So that's where we need to focus. If we just ask, if we surrender, that's my word for the year, surrender. Surrender to the unknown, surrender to the light. And because God wills for us only good. We're on this planet of free will, this classroom where we can choose, and we're making our own collective and individual choices, which are giving us our experience. And the good news is all those experiences are opportunities for healing and growth if we allow ourselves to use them as such. So true empathy, we see the suffering, we see the struggle, we see the compassion, but we don't take it on. And then we can respond from a higher place and move forward in the direction that walks us all home. And one thing that in closing, I find this, if your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. So we can only give what we have. And so if you want to be really the most powerful force you can be, clean up your own stuff. The more you do your own purification process, the brighter your light will shine. The more you have to give because you have much clearer, perfect vision. So I hope this was of some, gave you a little bit of peace, made you makes you contemplate a little bit so that, good morning, Sandy, thank you. So that we can move forward from a different perspective, from a higher intelligence, a divine mind. And I want to remind you again, excuse me, something I said in the beginning, which was I am expanding the prayer ministry. I have a new inspiration and vision for how it's going to move forward. I would invite anybody and everybody to be a part of the prayer team, a prayer warrior. So please let me know if you're willing and interested to take on this role. This is my calling, as of it's been nagging me every night in a good way, like, okay, it's time. I get it. So I'm really excited about this. I'd love for you to join me. This is a way we can all be of greater service for each other and the world, the illusory world. And bring and integrate the kingdom of heaven into every moment. So thanks again, everybody. If you feel moved to share this, I would appreciate it. And in the meantime, have a great week. Join me for the book study, The Mystic Jesus, Course in Miracles on Friday, and of course every Sunday at 11:11 for my Soulful conversation. Have a great week, everybody. Namaste.